Joining us now, chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of Washington. Congresswoman, thank you so much for taking the time with us. We just heard the speaker there say there will be a vote this morning. What are you hearing? What are your expectations?
Well, look, I just don't know exactly how they get out of the pickle that they're in because they're listening to two outside puppeteers when Mike Johnson knows damn well that what he needs to do is craft a package, as he did with Democrats, because he can't get anything through his very fractured Republican conference, even though they're in the majority. So it was an embarrassing vote for him, for Trump, for the GOP yesterday, to be in the majority and not even be able to get a majority of votes on the floor when we had a negotiated agreement that had the Speaker put it on the floor, Anna, it would have passed with Republican and Democratic votes. We would not be here today. The government would not be shutting down. So this is squarely on the Republicans, and they're going to have to figure out a way, but I don't know how they do it without Democrats.
I understand you will be heading into a Democratic conference meeting this morning in just moments. What's the goal of this meeting today for your party?
Well, I think we want to discuss it amongst ourselves with our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, who's been very strong in saying, hell no, you can't negotiate a deal with us, walk away, and then come back and say, we need your votes, but we're not going to give you anything for it. That is not the way this place works. Not to mention, we have, as Ali Vitali said, we have a Democratic Senate and a Democratic White House. Mike Johnson, to his credit, recognized that, but he's bending to the will of the puppeteers, Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And I think Trump has got to think about the chaos that he's sending the country into and the Republican conference into if we're not even able to do any of the work that we need to do to get him into office, what the Republicans will have to do to get him into office as the next president with, decent ratings. The American people are going to suffer with a shutdown. It never goes well for the party that initiates it, and that is clearly the Republicans.
Everybody loses with a shutdown, but after Plan B failed last night, that bill that was tanked by both Republicans and Democrats, 38 Republicans joining nearly all Democrats voting against it. J.D. Vance came out. Elon Musk was on social media again. Steve Scalise, other prominent Republicans all said a shutdown will be your party's fault because nearly all Democrats voted against that bill. What's your response?
Yeah, listen, I tweeted back at Elon Musk yesterday and said, let me explain to you how government works. You are the majority party. If you can deliver the votes, you can put any damn bill on the floor that you want. You don't have to ask us. You've got the majority. You should be able to deliver the votes. If you want our votes, you've got to come to us and negotiate. That is what the negotiated bill was. So, they can try to blame us, but we've got a negotiated bill that today, if they put it on the floor, we would vote for it and we would pass it. And so this is clearly a Republican shutdown. They know it, Anna. That's why they're trying to, frame it as a Democratic issue. But I think all Americans are going to understand that when their Social Security checks disappear, when they have delays at the airports because the FAA isn't able to work, and when they, can't get their paychecks because all the federal workforce will be furloughed, they are going to blame Mike Johnson, the Republicans, Elon Musk, Donald Trump. That's what's going to happen. They're trying to frame it, but it's not going to work.
So Politico reports that when yesterday's bill was revealed, Leader Jeffries privately told Democrats, I'm not simply a no. I'm a hell no, and you alluded to that as well. I'm just curious, if a bill emerges today, if it's not the totality of what was in the Plan A, the bill that was negotiated in a bipartisan way, what would have to be in this now Plan C in order to soften the stance, that hell no stance?
Well, we're going to go into caucus and discuss what the options are. But again, I would say the things that were taken out, there were two problems with the bill yesterday. One was obviously the debt ceiling piece. The other was the things that were taken out, right? Things that lower prices of drugs for Americans across this country. Community health centers that provide health care to people. Cancer care for children. I mean, these were the things that the Republicans took out. Democrats had negotiated negotiated to put in the bill in exchange for our votes. And so it's very difficult to imagine why Republicans would want to be on the record saying we took out all these things that would help lower prices and help Americans, struggling Americans across the country. I mean, after all, they ran on being able to lower prices. Now Donald Trump is saying, I don't even know if I can lower prices for you. They're going to raise prices by taking these things out of there. So let's see what they come up with. It's very hard to react to any hypothetical, but we had a negotiated deal. I think that's the most important thing. We had a negotiated deal. Right. You know, and they blew it up because of a tweet from a billionaire saying, I don't like this.
Real quick, if you will, because you just said it sounded like you took issue with the debt ceiling piece as part of what the New Deal was. But last year you were in support of eliminating the debt ceiling. So you no longer support that?
Well, what I've always said is that the debt ceiling should be reformed, and we have a number of reforms for it. But what you don't do, listen, it was never a negotiating tactic until Republicans made it a negotiating tactic. If you remember, going back maybe 6-8 years, it was something that Republicans and Democrats did together is raise the debt ceiling. So it wasn't a real problem. But now Republicans have turned it into a negotiating tactic. So if you're going to make it a negotiating tactic, then we have to negotiate it. That is a very long discussion. It will come up next spring. It can't be thrown into a budget deal to keep the government open at the 11th hour. So I think if you want to talk about that, that's going to be down the line, but you can't throw it in now.
Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, thank you very much for taking the time.